Hi, Warriors. Lorena Brand. So Putin wants to talk now, huh? Zelensky doesn't.
Morning, coach.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Hanging in
Getting
there
getting
still.
better?
Huh?
Are you
Maybe a little
slowly?
bit. Hey, Dale.
You
Good
know,
morning.
Coach, I was gonna say,
Hey,
man, you are still dragging, man.
yeah, I have RVSP.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I
really
called
hanging
the
around.
doctors. They said most of their patients it takes about 3 weeks to get over this.
What?
Yeah,
So
it takes longer
when
than COVID.
uh, my wife had she had her surgery like was I guess it was about a month ago. I mean, sitting in the ER, half of
Oh
the
yeah.
ER, and I'm not exaggerating, half the ER were kids, and
Oh yeah.
you could hear the gargling in their, like as they cough, that that gargle roughness. It's going around.
Oh yeah. There's no medicine for the kids, over the counter medicine at the drugstores. So yeah. Anyway, this too shall pass. Breakout in WTI, guys. I don't know if it's a China reopening, but pretty convincing move up $2 here today. Uh, Risk on. So, did you buy it down there, Blake? I know you're looking for, the seasonal rally coming up here pretty soon. Is Santa warming
This
up his
this
sled?
I was calling for the move yesterday in the equity markets, and I didn't. Did I play it on the long side? No, but I have I have a bunch of risk on trades going.
Yeah.
Um, and so what did I play yesterday that when I reversed everything yesterday because I played it as like turnaround Tuesday, and
Yeah.
it was time to get long a bunch of things. Oh, I guess I played some of the yen pairs. I replayed a reversal in the Aussie yen off of after off of key support. It was really major support yesterday, and that was a big deal in the Aussie yen. So I knew that we were going to have risk on. So, or I didn't know. I mean, I figured
Yeah.
we were going to. This is the plan that I've had since the week ahead video. So the
Right.
Aussie yen was my weapon of choice yesterday. So
Sometimes our best ideas are on the weekends, and then we just execute them during the week. You notice that?
I always try to sit around on the weekend. Well, that's what the week ahead video is. I
Right.
mean, I've been doing the week ahead video since when I first moved back to Arizona from Dallas, and I worked out of a hedge fund office here for a year. It was one of the worst years of my life because I used to get up at 2:15 in the morning, and I was in the office by 3 a.m. and then I was broadcasting by 4 a.m. So
Wow.
it was really tough for
Yeah.
that year, but um I started the week ahead video at that time. So that was about 11 years ago. And so,
It's a good discipline.
well, yeah, I've been doing it for the most part every weekend since then. In some way, shape, or form. So, it is it's a good process for me to sit down and help prepare traders and myself, because it's not just me doing it. It's Stel issue. You probably get it. When you're sitting here and you talk about it, and you talk about like your conviction in a trade, and you talk about it live on air, it's a thought out process that you go through, which makes it more important when you're actually trading. You're like, okay, I've got more conviction in this because I did
Yeah,
talk
it's the
talk out.
same as writing things down, in a journal and they writing
Yeah.
your thoughts down. It's exactly the same thing.
NLP.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What MLP? What is that?
Neuro
Or linguistic
linguistic
programming.
programming.
God, I thought I thought you were actually using an
NFP.
acronym for something else
Uh,
no, I was thinking my head was so far in another direction.
yeah.
I thought you were talking about other people's money. Like,
Oh, OPM.
I thought it was like
Yeah.
another acronym for that, and I'm like, huh, what?
Oh, we have an NLP and hypnosis coach in our audience. That's good.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome, Rihanna. And Rihanna's actually in our chat room.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Rihanna just joined our chat room recently. So
what is NLP in this case? NLP and hypnosis coach. What does that mean? I know what hypnosis is, obviously.
Well, it is when you declare something or write it down, it imprints on your mind more than if you just think it.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that is true. That is true, actually.
So it can help you form a different paradigm. I believe that's probably what
Yeah.
Raina tries to do with people, because we have our paradigms by the time we're
Yeah.
8 years old.
You commit more to things you write down instead of just
Yeah,
thinking on or writing them or telling them. Yeah.
yeah.
Makes
Anyway,
sense.
go ahead, guys.
No. Go ahead.
No, just
continue talking about it.
All right. So, we're all filled up with before we have egos. Everything we hear in our wherever whoever is raising us in the family becomes our paradigm, and then people want to change certain things that they didn't have any control over accepting, and you have to, through repetition, and what you fill your mind with can change your paradigm. It's not easy to do, and you always have a default position, which is what you became early that you can go back to. So it takes constant awareness to catch yourself when you're reacting to something the way you have your whole life, if you're trying to change that. So you become like the watcher. You have to watch yourself. You almost take an omniscient point of view of yourself, and observe yourself and what you're doing. It's just awareness, which I'm unaware a lot of the time, unconscious sometimes too. So
it's something you have to work on. I think
Yeah.
it's not an instant
No.
instant thing. Yeah, you definitely have to work on that.
Bob Proctor, who's a pretty famous guy, I used to show Proctor videos, believes in repetition, and it's having in the image is more important than what you say. So pictures, people will put up a car that they really want or a house they want, and you don't have to figure out how to get there. Your unconscious will get you there if you get out of the way. So he used to listen to Think and Grow Rich on a record player before they had things, and he would take it in the car with him and play it over and over again. Think and Grow Rich.
Speaking of repetition, ancient Greeks
here
had
we
a saying,
go.
επανάληψη μήτρη μαθήσεως, which means repetition is the mother of learning.
That is true.
Yeah,
That is
practice makes perfect.
Yeah,
And the word
ahead.
practice comes from the Greek word. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God.
Everything does.
Hit me now. My goodness.
Every language in the world has a Greek root.
Yeah.
So
You shouldn't be offended, Blake. You're an honorary Greek.
I know, but I have to. I always tell that story about my father-in-law.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm joking with you.
I mean, he used to. It was like it went 3 years ago. It was every word. I couldn't even get through a sentence without him going, that word originated in Greece. Blah 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 blah. And then we went to see My Big Fat Greek Wedding, that movie,
and he never did it again.
Never did it again after that one. After we all laughed our butts off. Anyway, going back to repetition, gosh, you can really talk about sports theory, and if anybody's done martial arts in their lifetime, which I spent my entire childhood competing, it's really, it is all muscle memory, repetition, and that it feeds into a lot of aspects of your life. But anyway, what we should be talking about? We should be talking about the markets right now.
Let's talk about Apple for a second.
Let's talk about Apple.
All right.
I had a buddy that called me yesterday, said he was buying it, and I was like,
okay, well, he can scale into 80.
he was
because that's what that
telling me
formation
yesterday.
measures. 80.
I was like, man, I don't know about that. And he's just like, I'm buying Apple here. And I'm like, okay. He just, he's one of those random, he just texts me out of nowhere,
Look
like,
at that $50 formation there.
yeah.
Is he
What were you
buying
gonna say,
Tesla?
Stel?
Is he buying Tesla as well?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of which, you hear this all this news with Elon Musk. It's gonna find a new CEO of Twitter. I think that's probably the best thing he could possibly do.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's gonna run that company into the ground if he does not do something.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I read, he fired apparently 5,000 of the 7,500 workforce. I mean, that is huge.
that is crazy.
Incredible. If that
Crazy.
number is true.
Sounds crazy until you realize that Twitter is not worse off because of it, which makes you think that perhaps there was a lot of
dead weight.
fat in that headcount, right?
Yeah, I mean, there probably was. Look, he's maybe a little eccentric, but he's also Elon Musk for a reason, I guess.
Oh, yeah, smart. He's smart.
Yeah, and I mean, how many of you guys have ever used PayPal? I mean, he's creator of PayPal. I mean, for heck's sake. But anyway, yeah. So I agree with you, Steve. There's probably a lot of fat around there. We're trying to chew some off here in 2023, and we're getting rid of Steve. So.
Yeah. Wise decision.
Hey, anyway, since we're talking about equities, you got Apple near key support. I mean, what do you think here, Dale?
Well, I think 115 is reasonable, and now I notice it's 1.272. It's also a moving average, 110, 115.
Yeah,
and I just don't think that we could have any kind of rally in the averages until Apple rights itself, and I think we would need closes back over 140. That would do it.
But let's just note that we are near key support. So if you're, and one of the other things about equities, if you think about the stock market just in general, when did we have CPI? Wednesday of last week? Was it Wednesday? Yeah, CPI Wednesday of last week.
Great number.
Yeah. So it was, but we've also reversed since Wednesday. Right. Since Tuesday, the Tuesday high, we're down 9%. From peak to trough, so getting us a rally back over the next 24 hours, 48 hours back up to 3,900 doesn't seem like a stretch to me in the S&P. So if you go back to Apple and just realize that it's really near key support, then perhaps we do get a bit of a move there. By the way, yeah, well, we might get a little bit of a bounce before we see some selling. And that's like my what I'm thinking about with equities. I don't think we're going like we're going to be bouncing like super aggressively. I just think we're just going to be doing this over the next couple of days, maybe even into next week. We might just kind of grind higher. But hell, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of people chasing the market this time of year. Because it is that time of year where you need to put up or shut up. So, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to, they're going to crap or get off the pot. So, Brand was just saying there's a pre-move in the dollar Canadian. The dollar Canadian is seeing a move ahead of the CPI numbers that are coming out today in Canada. Seeing a little bit of move there, but you're seeing a move in the dollar. I mean, look at the euro. Euro just, ratcheted up. The Aussie's breaking a little bit of intraday resistance. I just got out of half of my Aussie New Zealand longs this morning. We're at some pretty key resistance. I tweeted that out with the ForexAnalytix community, and most of you all already knew why we were long down here. Major divergence in relative strength. You can see that really, really big divergence. And K-Man, who hasn't been here, and I think he's been out for a couple of days now. You can see that multi-week year trend line. We basically hit that trend line last week, and so a lot of us went and got long last week near the 105. I was long like near 105.50. I just got out of half of it this morning, and I plan on adding to it on a breakout higher, but I think we're up against some pretty key resistance as we're seeing moves in a lot of currencies, this morning, a little bit of exaggerations as, people are wrapping up their books, going into the holiday season. So anyway, Stelios, what are your thoughts overnight? Did you guys do? You guys didn't do the flow show this
No,
morning?
not today, not tomorrow,
Okay.
not Friday.
Okay, so
My thoughts overnight. First of all, I wrote in the chat room, I got out of half my silver longs. We're getting close to, if you go to the silver chart, we're getting close to pretty important resistance. I mean, the previous high is 24.28, whatever that is. So I've got out of half of it. It was on average from around 21, so that's not bad for a month or so. Remember the previous.
do better.
Sorry.
Do better.
Do better, I know. But I said, look, if we close above 24.28, 24.30, call it, on a daily close, I'm buying it back wherever it is. So that, this, taking profits here, might turn out to not to be the right trade. Taking profits, never a bad thing, but you know what I mean. If we close above 24.30, I'm buying it back. Otherwise, I'm waiting for a pullback towards 22.20 to 22.40. 22.20 was the previous breakout. 22.40, sorry, was the previous breakout. So somewhere around there, I think a return back there, especially if we get any risk off. I'm gonna look to buy it back. So that was a nice little trade over a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just Tulin asked like why get out, but here's the thing: bulls and bears make money, pigs get slaughtered, and if you're not actively as a trader, if you're a trader, you're a trader. Trade the markets, take profits when you have them, add back when you can. Like I like to take partials, and so sometimes I take everything off. Like this morning, I took everything off of my New Zealand Canadian short. Do you know why I did that? Because we completed a pattern. We actually did an AB equals CD, and I knew we had Canadian data, and I'm like, okay, I'll take my 80. I had 82 pips in profit. I took it last night, or I took it about an hour ago. Here's the trades room. You look right here. I opened it at 86.68. I closed it at 85.85, and I closed it all. I said I'm closing it all because of AB equals CD completion. So when you're in it, you ask Tulin why we take some it off sometimes, because sometimes it's like you're trading, man. Take it off and book the profits and move along.
You either get completion of the pattern you're looking at, or you're getting close to resistance or support. Like in this case, I think we are getting close to resistance. So why not take half off? And if we do break above, that means this move is being confirmed. I put it back on. I don't mind. But
yeah, and that's the other thing, right? Is you can't be nervous about getting back in. Whenever I trade, I take things off. And a lot of times I look back and I go, damn, why did I do that? Or like, damn, I wish I didn't take that position off. It's really working now. Just because you take off a trade and you take it off for profit, like in silver, for example, you took your long off. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It was the right thing for you to do at that time.
Right. And you can't be afraid of paying up for something, which is what
Exactly.
Stelios is talking about. Some people go, well, how can I buy it up here when I could have bought 50? I'm going to wait for a dip, right? So,
Right.
You're going to end up being a drip waiting for a dip.
Remember, remember Dale, from silver from mid-October to mid-November went from 18 something to 20-ish, and you're asking me, are you getting more? Are you buying more? I said, no, I want to see a daily close above the highs of 22, 20, whatever it was. And I said, I'm going to buy wherever it is. And if you had done that, you're up 7% since what, 2 weeks?
Right.
So that's what I'll be waiting for.
Yeah.
Can't be afraid of paying up or selling into the hole if it's still the right trade.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It's definitely difficult to do. So
Stel's a pro. He could do it. He does it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we got about 10 minutes till we have data coming out. So that's how you feel about silver. Any other instruments you're thinking about, and then I'm going to move over to Steve. So Steve, prepare your thoughts now.
Well, it's as I've said before regarding stocks, it's a two-way fight. It's the Santa Claus rally, so the seasonals versus yield starting to creep up, which should theoretically be taking stocks lower. So I'm not convinced. If you put a gun to my head and you ask me to trade it, I still think we're going to grind lower. But I don't know is the answer. Sorry. So don't have much of a confidence in anything else at the moment.
So I want you guys to go back to December 19th, which is, that was 2 days ago, right? At the end of the day, the 161% extension at the 3771 level looks to be the next downside target for the index. Yesterday, we came very close to 3771, low of 3778, and this could allow for a bounce near term back to the 50 DMA this week. So if you look at what's happening this morning, is we're getting a bounce back after almost hitting that 161% extension we talked about a couple of days ago. The 50 DMA comes back up here at 3890, which is still 40 points away from where we're at. So if you think about that, like the 50 DMA previous support right here, you can see the spike low right here, previous support, the 50 DMA, that's if you really want to be a seller of equities and you're like, we're going to 3,000 next year, the first quarter of next year. We'll sell rallies and find, specific levels to sell into. Like, hey, I want to be short at the 50-day moving average at 38.90. We'll wait for it. And this is the market that you have to actually wait for your trades. Trying to be early, when there's not a lot of liquidity and not a lot of volatility, there's volatility, just not a lot of liquidity. It could, end up being a little bit more problematic. So be patient. So, Steve, what do you think? What are you looking at right now? Like, what should we be trading? If you're going to be trading the next couple of days, what should you be doing?
I think that nothing has changed from when we got the Fed, that in essence reinforced what we were expecting, to today. Nothing has substantially changed other than the move of the BOJ. But if we have to correlate, as I was saying yesterday on the Morning Edge, the change in monetary policy thinking from the BOJ to what happened, to what might happen in the US, for example, and the Fed, I think that that is probably also pointing in the direction of remaining hawkish for longer, right? So I think that the risks are still tilted for equities to keep moving lower. Now, in regards to what the dollar is going to be doing, if by dollar we mean the DXY specifically, now that's a more tricky question to answer. And why is that? That is because the euro is a big part of it, right? And there is a chance that the ECB will have to do a lot more catching up with rates, and that might lead to some euro overperformance, which of course will influence heavily the DXY itself, right? But in general, I think that the dollar against a basket of currencies should remain decently bid in the weeks ahead, especially as long as risk assets don't rally. Now, we get some kind of a positive surprise, let's say some kind of a deal between Russia, Ukraine, etc. Of course, that is going to be changing things, right? It's going to be giving reasons of hope to the markets, and the markets will again move away from thinking about the Fed and monetary policy, will rally somewhat until they they find a reason to be grounded once again. Anyhow, I think it's going to be a very interesting year, the year that we have ahead. I don't think that people should be rushing into trading their thesis. I don't think that people should be rushing into trading their thesis, during the last couple of days of the year. Obviously, not a very smart idea, right?
Wait, you calling me a dumbass?
Oh no, your trading style is completely different.
I'm just kidding. Look, I was actually fishing for like an idea for today. Any ideas today? That's what I was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a very good idea about today. Stay away from trading.
Are you calling me a dumbass? Gosh, dang it! I'm
no,
trading. So
it's
yeah.
my idea.
All right. So you don't have any decent ideas for today. Let's talk about Canada, and we got about 5 minutes before the Canadian CPI. And just remember, first of all, let's just go take a look at what the market's looking for. So we're on Wednesday, December 21st. Can you believe it's just a few days before the Christmas holiday for those of us that celebrate? We have current account coming out of the US, CPI month over month. Now, we're looking for inflation to actually fall. And this is like, not just a US thing. This is this is more of a global phenomenon, little disinflationary pressures. But I think you got to watch the dollar Canadian really carefully, because we broke out of this triangle, and after we broke out of this triangle, we've held the triangle breakout point, but we're also holding the 618, which is at 137. So, and notice, and I'm going to take us intraday really quick. You notice this range that we've been in since we broke out of this triangle. It has been a 200 pip trading range, and notice we are right smack dab in the middle of the trading range. So, I think following this data, we could very easily, depending if it's a miss or not, we could very easily be trading on either side of this range. I still expect 135.25 right here to offer support, 137 to offer resistance. If we break 137, automatically that becomes really bullish. And if you guys are bullish the dollar CAD, one of the things that you're going to want to see happen at the same time is you're going to want to see some crude oil weakness. And crude is not weak at the moment, so just keep that in mind. If
Blake, sorry to interrupt, we're actually a lot closer to support. If you take those lows from mid-November, there's an ascending trend line. So mid-November.
What? Where? You mean as far as the dollar CAD goes?
Yeah.
I mean, there is some near-term support. I think if we if we broke this trend line, and you can fiddle with it a little bit and say, well, maybe it's more like this, maybe the trend line is more like that. If you break that, it's just going to open up a move back down to 135 and a quarter. And I don't think that changes this outlook. If we break here, we target down here, but getting below 135 is going to be kind of tricky, for the dollar as a whole. I mean, if you think about the dollar, as far as the dollar is, trying to carve out like a low near the 161% extension, a low near the, just looking at the dollar index, this is the post-COVID lockdown spike higher. So that's why one of the reasons why the dollar is so well supported down at these levels. So, being short dollar CAD, going back to the dollar CAD, being short the dollar CAD, trying to get short below 135, knowing the dollar index is really near some critical support. It's a tough trade for me, and probably for the market as a whole. You know what I mean? So anyway, but good eye. How much time do we have?
About 45 seconds.
All right. So let's here's ForexAnalytix. Let's put open data flash. And this is how we're going to look at all the data. And we also have US current account. Here's all the CPI data. I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to put up the US dollar Canadian here. I'm going to get rid of that red box because I don't want to see it. We're going to just look at it like this.
The recent pattern has been for inflation to be surprising to the downside. So I wouldn't be surprised if year-on-year CPI expected 6.7. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes in at 6.5 or something like that. That's been the kind of the norm recently.
All right, and here's the data. So
Let's see. Oh, 6.8. Okay.
Yeah, it's weak, man. It's weak. Wow. And what's interesting is the instant reaction is the Canadian is strengthening, which I don't understand why.
Because it's strong data. The data's strong. The core, medium, trim, and common are all higher or unchanged. BOC core is unchanged at 5.8%. It's only dropped a pip on the headline number.
Oh, wait. Hold on really quick.
Hey, Ryan.
Ryan, where you been?
Yeah, I thought
I've
you
been sitting there all the time.
out spending
You're here
all
the whole time?
your yen games.
Dude, I thought you were I thought you were on Santa's sleigh or something.
No, I'll do that this morning. I'm getting back on fixing his tire later on.
Well, crap. Dale, do you have an interview today?
Yeah, Kirk Spano is here.
Oh, okay. Well, before Kurt, comes on, what do you have to say there, Ryan? Everybody missed you for the
Flow show.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that tweet went out in error this morning. So yeah, we're not on the flow show. No, that Canadian data, it's not dipped as much as expected. As I say, the three core measures that they do, median, trim, and cop.
Okay.
2 came up higher and 1 came in unchanged. The Bank of Canada measure of core came in unchanged, 5.8. So that 1 pip drop in the headline number is what's giving you your Canada strength at the moment.
Then how come this is off right here?
Because that's the headline numbers. Why is that?
Yeah, because I don't know why.
We need to look into that. That doesn't look right. Yeah,
that doesn't look
right. They have about 30 attempts at measuring CPI in Canada. They're not happy with one number. They've got to try about 8 times to do it. So it might just be a crossover of the feeds.
Got it. But anyway, so with the Canadian number, and I know Kirk's coming on here in just a second, but how do you? Let me just get your final thoughts here, Ryan. What do you think about? Well, A, do you have any thoughts about the Canadian, and then B, do you have anything that you're looking at going into North American trade today?
No, I agree with your levels on the dollar CAD. You know, if it's enough to get you 135, you probably want to be looking there for a little scalp long off the big figure. If it moves that far, I can't see it going that far on this data. It's not doing an awful lot. Just keep an eye on your ranges. You know, Euro Sterling's looking like it might want to edge back up to 88. It's getting above the recent highs. Had a go above the recent highs in those 77, 80 area. Just keep an eye on that. You want to be looking at this time of year, not getting into anything big, but if you get hitting some big levels, hit some range edges, it's always potentially worth a small trade with a tight stop just to see if they hold.
Yeah, and Tony says you guys have been stumped by data a lot lately. You know, it's interesting as we get to a pivotal point in the economy where things start to shift. It does. You know, a lot of times data comes out and you're like, wow, shoot, I wasn't even expecting that. But it's also how you trade it. You know, like trading the CPI data was, it was easy and fun. And I say easy because, we all ended up being on the right side of it. But yeah, data is going to be a little bit challenging, I think, moving forward as we move into 2023. I mean, because it's like all the easy money has been made, with all central banks, knowing that all central banks were going to raise rates. Now we're getting into times where the data is going to be kind of shifty. I mean, it's just going to be, especially with jobs data. There's a lot of things that are going to be factoring in a jobs data in the months ahead. Same thing with inflation too. So anyway, you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yep, everyone gone now? Everyone went away from
yes, everybody took off. Ryan, do you have any final thoughts on that?
Nope.
All right. Well, hey, Dale, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, and have a great interview with Kurt. And I want to say, have a great hump day with everybody else. Remember, take advantage of ForexAnalytix throughout these times. This is a great time to actually just try ForexAnalytix. It's $1 for 10 days. Download the mobile app, jump in our chat room. Very, very active chat room that we have, that you guys can all see our trades and, what we're doing and, what we're all talking about. So come check us
That
out.
room was short, US dollar yen with Brian and Blake and everyone. So if you'd been in that chat room, you may have, said, I think I'll go along with this.
I just pulled off a lot of profits overnight overnight. I've been long the Aussie New Zealand since last week and short New Zealand Canadian since last week and long Euro Sterling since the ECB Bank of England meeting on Thursday, and that I'm still long some Euro Sterling, but I took a lot off yesterday too, because I was long the Aussie yen playing the bounce with the S&P, because it was turnaround Tuesday yesterday, and you guys know my whole plan with that, and I played the Aussie yen on the long side as a result. So just been doing things like that. So yeah, come in the chat room so you guys can see exactly what I'm trading. It's that's it.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks, team. And Ryan, if I don't talk to you, have a Merry Christmas.
And you, Dale, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and same to all our followers as well, and all the rest of the guys, and all your guests.
Thank you, brother.
And Dale, I hope you feel better, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, amen.
All right.
Kirk, thanks for your patience. Welcome back to F.A.C.E.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, Kirk. How are you? So, looks like you prepared something. Feudal forecast review and more worthless.
I've been calling my forecast futile for a while.
What? Who was?
I have been.
Okay. All right. Well, I've seen you hit things. I've seen bullseyes too. So anyway, it's great. Look, if you can't make fun of yourself and laugh at yourself, you're taking yourself too seriously. So I'm interested in what you see as far as futility in the markets for 2023. Thanks for being here around the holidays, buddy.
Well, thank you for having me, as always. Why don't we start by reviewing what you guys just talked about? I tell you what, it's hard for me to get up an extra half an hour early to be with you every morning, but you guys are awesome. We really have a good show in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy to be a trader, so we do our best to add value, help people get there. Yeah.
That's why I have quit trading, and I'm a position trader, right? I hold things for a year or two or three versus, a minute or an hour or a day. But I did take a look at your trading offer, funding a trader, and I don't know, man, I'm thinking about it. It's I don't think it's all that difficult to make 25 to 50% a year if you're a really good trader. I've done it several times, and it usually is coming out of a bull market or bear market. So trading the pivots, and I think that's what we're closing in on.
All right. Yeah, I wanted to ask you because I saw your tweet previewing this, and you did call for a double bottom last time we talked, and the October low compared to the July low was just a shade lower. You could call it a double bottom. And then you said the double bottom, quote, will give way. Does that mean you think it's going to take it out, and then the January effect takes hold and we get a huge rally after one more flush?
I don't know that we're going to get a flush this year. I think we're going to.
So the October lows are safe still
for now, for a quarter or two. We'll see.
Okay.
I think here you guys talked about this stock. Let me flip this up real quick. Apple? You guys talked about Apple.
Okay.
This is maybe the most important stock to watch because it has such a big impact on QQQ, right? So I'm more of a quant guy than a chart guy. I really like to keep track of the volume weighted indicators, and then your basic RSI, money flow. I like the Shaken. I like these moving averages, and then I use the Elliott wave oscillator just to remind me when to ask a shooter for an Elliott wave chart.
Okay.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Apple gets down to 110-ish. I know that I think you said 115. I actually think that range right in here, right where I'm pointing, is inevitable. The question becomes, does it break through there? There's a huge air gap right in there.
Right. To 80, that's a pre-COVID high.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I think that Apple can make a run at 80 if the Fed stays tight, if China goes back to, battening down the hatches,
okay.
or if the price of oil gets up towards 100 again and stays there. So there's a lot that could go wrong next year. And Apple, I think, is going to be a harbinger, especially since I think that Apple's business in China, both the supply side and the demand, is
over.
Well, it's more tenuous than it's ever, there's been in a long time, right? I mean, I told people to buy Apple on Market Watch way back here. I wrote an article saying that Apple's not rotten. And man, did I get mocked. I'm just mock. So, being from the Bob Uecker school of humility, I can shrug it off.
And everyone owns it, Kirk, and it's 8% of the market cap, and it's considered all year long. Well, people are watching things being taken out to the woodshed, has shown good relative strength up until the last month or so. So it's the last thing people will sell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I can't see that October low holding. Maybe if we only go to 115, there could be enough rotation to keep the market going, but 80, then I think you're talking about, 3,200 S&P if it goes to 80. Don't you think how can the market make progress without this gorilla?
It can't.
Okay.
It can't. I mean, when you take a look at the top 7 stocks in the stock market, as far as market cap, if they're not doing well, the market can't do well, right? And we're talking about the S&P 500 and QQQ. The small caps have already been destroyed. The mid caps have mostly been destroyed. The last thing that happens in a bear market is people throwing the towel on what they think is safe, which is large caps. We both know that that's completely untrue, that large caps are really meaningfully safer than mid caps or small caps. I would argue that good mid caps are a safest spot to be in the market. But when people throw on the towel on large caps, when they start selling their S&P 500 funds, that's when you get your whoosh. That's when you get your big volume that wipes out all the weak hands. And that's when the people that I've been working with, I'm consulting to 2 hedge funds and talking to 2 private equity firms. That's when they come in and write big checks. That's when Blackstone and KKR and everybody else who's a mini version of them comes in and starts writing checks. And they use a lot of borrowed money because at that point, Jay Powell or whoever is in the Federal Reserve starts throwing money at the problem. And they know to wait for the almost free money. So this period we are in now, I call it the middle of the market. It's very hard to trade. Some of your guys talked about that today. It's tough trades today, so why bother? I think there's going to be a lot of tough trades, I'd say, over the next month or two. At some point, you get the final stomp on earnings expectations and the Fed getting the correction they want. So the Fed's going to talk tough until they get the stock market correction they want. They're not there yet. You've had 7 past and present Fed people come right out and say since spring, we want to see a big correction. We want to see price discovery. And people want to talk about unemployment and inflation for the Fed. That's not the Fed's real job. What's the Fed's real job, Dale?
I have no idea.
You do too. Protect the dollar. The Fed's real job is to protect the dollar and to make it what
was the Treasury's purview.
And the Treasury is official, but who's been handling monetary policy for 20 years now? And really even before that. But for the last, since Greenspan, who I thought did a bad job, but the Federal Reserve, especially since Bernanke, their job has been to shepherd the dollar into the post-petrodollar era, which is coming. So I always keep that in perspective, and I know people want to argue about it. I mean, I've been right 20 years on this, so I don't argue it too much anymore. In any case, here's what I said about the S&P 500 and some other stuff last year. I said the S&P 500 will break 5,000. It got really close, did not get there. We get 48 something, and then it would go below 4,000, while likely ending the year near the lows.
Yeah, good call.
Getting close. Clarified it a little bit. I specifically said that the S&P 500, and these are from articles right around New Year's last year, so these are year-old articles, middle 3,000s. So here we are at what, 3,780 or 3,800?
Yeah.
We'll see what the end of the year does with the last 7 trading days. I don't know if we'll be closer to 4,000 or 3,700 or 3,600. I think that most of the tax loss selling is over with. So we'll see. But 100 points in either direction from here, I think, is your range. What do I think about next year? I've been writing this chart up for a long time. I will say that when this correction ends, whether it ends around 3,300, or if it gets all the way down to 2,800, where I think that Jay Powell comes to the rescue, if we get under 3,000. I do think that we have a huge presidential cycle rally, and on the dollar having a longer term drift down, just a drift, nothing horrible. But you'll have the dollar weaken just a little bit, and we'll talk about the dollar more, but there's potential for this, what I've been calling the Armageddon zombie apocalypse. But you can also call it the Jeremy Grantham zone, right? Because he's super bearish. I don't think we get down here, but we'll know when we get into this area. We'll start to know if it's going to keep falling. I don't think it will, and here's why: labor is tight all over the world, and it's because global middle classes are expanding, while at the same time, aging demographics are taking people out of the workforce. So there has to be a huge shift in employment around the world, and the new employees are going to be immigrants where they need them, like America. What was one of the most interesting things that Powell said the other day, in my opinion? Well, let's ask you for it. What do you think that Powell said was the most important 4 words he said?
Are you interviewing today?
Yeah. But what do you think? I mean, here's what I heard. We don't have enough people. Powell said we don't have enough people.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and he's hinted at it 3 or 4 times. He's telling Congress, look, we understand that xenophobia gets you votes. However, we need 3 more million workers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let's figure out how to do it. And, that's up to them. Stop saying illegal and make them legal or something, right? And people can ask about, how do we get more people? Why don't we just have more babies? Well, it takes them 25 years to get into the workforce, right? So we have this problem now. So the future is demographics and robots, right? So demographics and robots are destiny, and that's going to be the name of an article in January that I write. So the more important index to me is QQQ. I really don't trade SPY. I just talk about it. I like QQQ because it's been the better index for 20 years, right? So since post.com, QQQ has been the better index by quite a bit. And I don't see that changing until around 100 more stocks are booted out of the S&P 500. And that's going to take some time. So, you know, you have your... Go on.
This after this, we get some of your support levels. You believe that the old names that led the way for the last decade are going to reemerge and be leaders again, or is there going to be a rotation to commodity type stocks, cyclical type stocks, or does it have to be tech that leads us again?
So I think that all of the big cloud companies and everything that they touch are going to do well. So Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they're going to be gorillas. I think that Apple will not be the leader anymore, but it'll still do very well. I think NVIDIA has a huge upside. There's a bunch of other stocks in QQQ that I think do very well. You know, Micron, I think, is going to do well. You know, Tesla, I don't know. I took a call from Elon Musk this morning. He was offering me some job at a social network. I don't know what he's going to do, but, you know, we'll see what Tesla does.
You'd be great. I get lots of retweets from you. So, okay. So I think we have your stock view, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So here's the summary. Let's have fun with oil. Now, that's usually something that I say to my fiance. But let's talk about this one, because we've talked about oil on this show for a very long time.
I'm sorry, Kurt. This is Blake. I just have to say I just laughed out loud there and almost fell out of my chair. So okay, I'm gonna let you continue. Thanks for being here today.
Yep. Yeah, you know, I try to have fun with these shows. You know, on my webinar on Mondays and Thursdays, I have to edit once in a while because I use some colorful language sometimes. I call it farmers' words because I used to have breakfast with the farmers out where I used to live every week. And yeah, they don't hold back a lot. And I kind of adopted that. You know, I thought that the price range on oil was be 50 to 80 for an extended period of time. It looks like it'll be 60s to 80s for an extended period of time. And that doesn't mean it can't go outside of those ranges. It just means that that's primarily where it's going to be. So I think the range on oil is probably 10 or 15% higher than I thought it was going to be. So I started saying that on the last show I was on here, which was September or August, you know, right around Labor Day. So, you know, thanks, Joe, for having to refill the SPR. But I do have some pretty interesting picks right now. We've been buying Occidental since it was in the 20s and 30s, and we sell cash secured puts every time it's around 60 because the warrant prices for Berkshire Hathaway are at 59.62 or something. And, you know, Berkshire Hathaway is going to buy Occidental. I mean, I just don't think that there's any doubt about that in my mind. If nothing else, it puts a floor under the price. Here's a company that you should know about if you're an investor or a trader, mainly because it's small cap for both reasons, and because they've built this business pretty well. About 4 or 5 years ago, I said there should be a company called Permian Resources.
Okay.
That's what this is called.
This is a fracking company. They frack.
Kinda. They went in. These are private equity guys that went into Texas, into the Permian Basin in particular, and were buying up assets when all these little companies went bankrupt.
Right.
So they were able to buy all kinds of Permian assets, including a lot of conventional assets. And their cost of production is super low. And they just bought Centennial. So that was a great company. I think this company probably gets bought out in the 20s, maybe the 30s. But if they hold on to it because of the conventional resources, and this is what people miss about Occidental, this is what they miss about Pioneer, this is what they miss about this company, and law of small numbers, it's going to grow more. The conventional resources that are out there are almost free, right? They're almost free. They just drip oil and gas in nonstop without much input cost. So that's the big attraction. It's not that you have a frackable asset, and they do, but it's that they have all this other baseline cash flow that they can decide what to do with. So they can turn down the investment in this company to almost nothing and still make money. Or if the price of oil is in this range where we think it's going to be 60s to 80s, they have cost of production in the 30s. So, it's a good company. I think it's completely overlooked by the market because the symbol changed. I think it probably goes.
Where does it trade at, Kirk?
It's like $8 or $9 a share right now. So we were buying it down there the first time. It ran for us a little bit. We wrote some covered calls; those expired, and now I'm buying it again and selling cash secured puts. Another company that you guys want to be aware of is New Fortress Energy. This company is brought to you by the same man who brought you the Greek Freak. So I have had an opportunity to at least walk by Wes Edens at a Bucks game, and he's got his own money in this thing. They have a technology for loading natural gas on the water at the wellhead in the ocean. So, you probably want to be very aware of this one. Kinder Morgan, if you like pipelines, it has a lot to do with the hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Then Ametis has blown by all their estimates for contracts. They are a biofuels company doing something unique in California, and they might have the highest margins of any refiner in America in the next couple of years.
They make biofuels?
Yes. Yeah. They
using what, soybeans and
no cow crap. And
okay, good. Get rid of that stuff.
And
so
almonds.
they use a digester to okay.
They make natural gas.
Yeah.
That they've contracted. I don't know. He won't tell me because I've interviewed the CEO. Apparently he can't tell me. But he's either contracted with Pilot or TA or somebody, one of the big truck stop companies in California, to sell natural gas to the trucking fleets. And renewable natural gas.
That's really interesting. Okay.
And then
some
jet
cool
fuel
ideas.
Yeah, well, and jet fuel that comes from they take the almond orchards and other orchards as they die, and they do every 15, 20 years. I've had orchards. They die, and normally you just burn them up and all that carbon's released into the atmosphere. These guys take it and turn it into jet fuel. So, and then they carbon capture the rest of it and put it into the ground. So these guys are in the CapEx phase right now. That's why everybody hates them. That's why they're heavily shorted. These guys are ripe for a massive short squeeze sometime in the next year.
Where's it? What exchange is it on? Over the counter?
Yeah, no. It's a regular stock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah. So take a look at this one and actually understand what they're doing. And the shorts are beating it down right now because they don't have revenues yet, right? They have a little bit of revenue. They have a paid for plant refinery in India. And if they need to sell it, they can sell it. I don't think they're going to need to sell it. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the dollar. It's not easy being a dollar bull, right? So for the last 10 years, I've been telling everybody dollar is going to rise. It has. Here's the next thing. It's going to stay strong. And it's going to stay strong a really long time. Now, is it going to spike even higher? No, because they can release the pressure valves. And as a part of my transition here, Bitcoin's going to be adopted as a hedge against a too strong dollar, not only by the emerging markets, but China and Saudi Arabia and Russia and whoever else wants to keep our hegemon power a little bit at bay. So
Okay.
Bitcoin's real, and it's not like all the other cryptos. I've said all the other cryptos are going to zero except for a handful. So you should be bullish on the dollar. Don't fall into that trap of the dollar is going to collapse. Highly tradable, right? Every currency is highly tradable. One of the trades you guys started to talk about today was the Canadian dollar. Trade the Canadian dollar, not against the US dollar. Trade the Canadian currency and the peso against other currencies, against the euro in particular. The whole of North America, United States, Canada, Mexico are going to do really well for a really long time because we're starting to work together the right way. And the knock-on effect for Canada and Mexico, because they're starting right with smaller economies and the unique things in each country. Canada is going to be a big breadbasket company. Mexico is going to clean up a lot of the crime, and they're going to do very well. I think Mexico is going to be a very good partner for a very long time. And if anybody's been paying attention to Mexico, the new technology to combat crime, they're going to win that crime war finally.
Okay. Where are you at on CBDCs?
I mean, I don't think they matter, right? We already have the SWIFT system. I don't think that they create any new value. I don't think they change the way that currencies are priced. I think that they're just a new conveyance mechanism. I think that's all they are. So, you haven't seen the yuan go through the roof. It's just another way to transmit their currency. That's all it is.
Okay, so you don't buy into like the surveillance qualities of it and the control aspect of it.
We are in a surveillance society. Unless you get completely off the grid, and even if you do, I don't know that you can get away from being tracked. I've almost given up on trying to fly under the radar and I did it for a long time. I wasn't a prepper or anything, but I kept a low profile, and then I was like, go on social media, start using my phone to buy stuff. It doesn't matter, man. They know where you are if they want to know where you are. And you have to work really hard to be a bad guy nowadays. And, companies like Silvergate made it a little easier, but, that's coming to an end too. So,
okay.
FTX made it easy to be a bad guy. Well, now they're underwater, and Bankman-Fried's going to jail. So, unless he uses those hundreds of millions of dollars he stole, and I have no doubt in my mind that he did it, to disappear, go to Nicaragua or something. So we'll see.
Okay, so be a good boy, and Santa will also give you a nice present.
Right? Yeah, there
All
you
right.
go. All right. So here, last time I was on, right about here, I said the dollar is peaking and we'll head to the top yellow line. How's that?
Yeah, there was one more push because
Yeah.
that was around the 112 level, went to 114 and change, but close enough for government work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the dollar is going to have a permanently higher range. I don't think it's going to get into this zone maybe ever again, or at least for a very long time. I think it'll be up here for a very long time, and I think it'll.
So max upper 80s.
I think it's gonna tend towards 100.
Okay.
Right. This is DXY2. I use this just so I can color on it.
Right. All
right. So let's finish with some fun. Bitcoin is still going to six figures. This is the short argument. And this is something I said in an interview with Dr. Sean Stein-Smith, and that was a little bit after I talked to Meb Faber. Look, the reason why Bitcoin is important is because it was created probably in China so the Chinese could launder money out of China. That's probably how it came to be. It's not what the white paper says, but if you take a look at how Bitcoin was used initially, that's what it did. It moved money out of China. So what does that tell you about Bitcoin? Its main use is to make it hard to track the people who have it. And it is a diversification against central bank currencies in general, against the dollar, yuan, euro. Online. Oh, did you lose me?
No, no.
All right. I just got an announcement that we were online. So Bitcoin is getting beat up in this whole crypto winter. I've said a number of times, most cryptos are going to zero, right? When I can go on my computer and create a cryptocurrency in a half an hour just by reading some instructions, it's not really money. However, there are projects out there that are a big deal. Bitcoin is the most important one. But the SWIFT system is already working with Ripple and Ethereum, right? Those are projects there. Ripple is now also with Bank of America. I think I misspoke there. It's Chainlink and Ethereum over at SWIFT, Ripple at Bank of America. JP Morgan's getting involved. So there are certain cryptocurrencies that will survive because they are the backbone of projects for moving money around and digital contracts. Digital contracts will be a big deal. Now, is the value in Ethereum and Ripple and Chainlink going to go up like Bitcoin? I don't think so, but they will be better income generators because you get paid for using those coins, those tokens, for processing information, and you get paid for processing the information. That's the best way to understand it. So there will be a handful that survive, basically the ones that are adopted by the financial system, and then Bitcoin, because somewhere in here. Oh, here you go. It's a dollar hedge. And for the very wealthy, it's kind of a golden passport. And we might see the first golden passport from Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried, because if he has any brains in his head, he ain't coming back to the United States. So if he really stole money, which I think he did, he should use some of that money to disappear, or at least, live the Snowden life, right? So we'll see. We'll see if he comes back. He might just be dumb enough to come back. But if I had stole hundreds of millions of dollars, I think I'd probably use it to not go to jail for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, that's not where I want a vacation. I'd rather be broke and free than rich, fake, taking heat.
Yeah, so, I don't know what the list of non-extradition countries are, but I got to think that he just might end up in one. We'll see. Maybe he really does feel bad about it.
I just hope he gets a good haircut.
And I've been calling that guy disrespectful and a train wreck for over a year. And I really
just jealous of the guy.
No, I look, man, I make 6 figures from a spare room in my house. I'm okay. But I take a look at him and I just think I've thought for a long time that he was hosing people and nobody wanted to listen. And then when he was buying up all those companies in May, June, July, whatever that was, because that other thing fell apart, I was like, where's he getting the money? It's like the money's coming out of thin air. And it turns out he was. Yeah. So, you have to really consider what's going on in the world. When you see something that just looks a little bit fishy, ask yourself, is it fishy? It might be.
Kirk, where's the best place for people to follow your work and get involved with you?
All right. So I'm writing a couple reports. Just go to fundamentaltrends.com after 7 or 8 interviews, I finally decided to put this page up for you. Fundamentaltrends.com is mine. There's a free special reports library on it. Just sign up for the free special reports library. You'll get my quarterly game plans. You're gonna get a bunch of stuff in the next couple of weeks. And then there's a couple of special reports that I've got halfway done. So one's the future of energy, how the transition is going to go. I think we've had a lot more clarity on that, I'd say, in the last year or so. And then the fourth industrial revolution, which is tied to what might turn into a book. We'll see if anybody will pay me to make it into a book from a report. But demographics and robots are destiny. That's what's coming. There's not going to be a lot of manufacturing jobs left in the world down the road. It's going to be robots building stuff and engineers making sure the robots don't break. So
I've been waiting for the return of the robot from Lost in Space. So
yeah, I saw him online in a video.
Yeah, one of my favorites. So Kirk, some great ideas that you shared with us today in the energy patch and with Bitcoin. I'm actually going to buy one this year, and tell Scott I'll need his help to actually put it in a wallet because I only have a leather wallet at this time. So I'd like to see the liquidation break in the markets and take Bitcoin down to 14, and I'm going to buy one. I like its portability aspect. So
yeah,
finally,
you're one of those rich guys who might have to disappear, right?
Yeah, I'm going to disappear with my 14 grand and live in the jungle. That's my with my laptop.
Can I address one of the questions in the room real quick before we go off?
Go ahead.
Somebody says, well, I'm talking about the 25-year future. Really, I'm talking about the 10-year future, 5 to 10 years. And so keep that in mind. The next 5 to 10 years are a lot of inflection points, and they're very tradable. So if you understand the longer term, the intermediate and shorter term moves are going to make a lot more sense. And obviously a lot of it's just overbought and oversold, right? And you guys are awesome at that. I mean, ForexAnalytix, I tell you what, since I met you guys, I just am amazed at how good you guys are at what you do. And to the point where, Shooter is working with me now. So, don't dismiss what I'm talking about for subjective reasons, for biases. Everything that I talk about usually comes to pass a lot faster than people think, and it becomes obvious to the markets sooner than people think. So while I might be 2 or 3 or 4 years early or 5 years early sometimes, I'm trading it differently than I'm seeing it, the futurist view. But the futurist view helps keep you with your eye on the flag on the top of the mountain, right? Your eye on the prize. The trades between now and then, depending on what your time frame on trades are, right? If you're hour to hour, it doesn't matter, right? But if you're swing trading, longer term trades, to position trades, understanding the real direction of the world is a big deal. And I normally say this off the air, but I've only invested about $250,000 in my life. And over the last 20 some odd years, I've invested about $250,000. It's worth roughly 20-fold right now. And it's been a little higher and a little lower. But I'll tell you, the position trades are a big deal. And I think that with as good of a trader batch as you guys are, and women too, I think that you can make a lot of money trading the pivot points, and maybe you can create the next Robin Hood after you get super wealthy trading the pivots. Some of these pivots are going to be violent, and you can make home run trades on them. So just understand the big picture, because it'll help you with those home run pivot trades.
All right, Kirk, I'm going to have to wrap here, and appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy New Year, and always rooting for you. Good hunting, and everyone, you can find Kirk on Twitter at Kirk Spano, and he showed you go sign up for his report and pay attention to the things that Kirk is saying. You could integrate them into your, your 5-year plan. So thanks, buddy.
Yep. Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and
Yeah.
Festivus for the rest of us.
All right. Kirk Spano, everyone.
All right,
Thank you,
take care.
brother. Adios.
Adios.
See you guys. Morning Edge has started.